Hey friends, before the story begins, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that whenever we bring a new story, you get it first. If you have trouble sleeping or your mind feels restless, then this story is especially for you. So let's begin. It began like a whisper across the stars. At first there was only silence. Then came rumors. Refugee ships drifted into human space, empty and without life. Navigation data showed they came from powerful alien empires, worlds that once had billions of people. All that remained were husks of ships, drifting with no crew, no records, no answer. Humanity noticed, but they did not understand. They thought it was war. They thought it was politics. They thought someone had invented a new weapon. But the truth was far worse. Something had started killing every species in the galaxy. Something invisible. Something unstoppable. Something impossible. The virus arrived without sound or warning. It touched entire civilizations at once. It spread through trade networks, through air filters, through nanotech, through systems no one had even discovered yet. It infected creatures of bone and flesh, creatures of light and energy. Alien species made of crystal, cloud, and neural fluid. None survived. The first signs were quick. An empire would stop answering communications. A week later, its patrol fleet stopped responding. Then automated distress signals would activate, but there were no survivors to shut them down. A world that had stood for 20,000 years could collapse in days. Then the silence would begin. Planets that once glowed like jewels now looked like dark stones floating in space. No ships launched from them. No voices called for help. Cities remained full of technology and beauty, but there were no living minds to use them. Everything was frozen, as if time itself had stopped. The galaxy had seen wars. It had survived superweapons and tyrants. It had faced black holes and rogue AI. But nothing had ever killed this fast or this completely. Armies did not fight. Leaders did not plan. Scientists had no time to study. The virus simply swept through them and left only stillness behind. And while everything died, humanity waited. Humans braced for impact. They locked down planets, they activated quarantine zones, they prepared for infection. They feared they were next, but nothing happened. The virus touched them but did nothing. Humans got sick. They recovered. The disease failed every time. It did not matter if they were young or old. It did not matter what world they lived on. Humans lived while everyone else died. At first, they thought it was luck. Then they realized it was evolution. Human immune systems had been shaped by centuries of suffering. Pandemics, plagues, engineered diseases, genetic experiments, and endless medical adaptation had turned humanity into something strange, something unpredictable, something resistant in ways no other life form was. Humans were not stronger. They were not superior. They were simply damaged in the right way. The virus could not understand them. It could not break them. It could not rewrite them. They survived because their biology was chaotic and full of errors. That chaos became their shield, but survival did not feel like victory. Every signal from alien space went dark. The Galactic Council never answered again. The great empires of the Inner Rim fell silent forever. Trade beacons blinked like stars with no one left to watch them. Space grew empty, not because it was wide, but because it was dead. Humanity stood in a graveyard too large to imagine. At first, humans did nothing. They remembered the dead. They mourned. They feared the virus would return. But time passed, and humans remained. They were the last species alive, the last voices, the last minds, the last hope. Silence became their enemy. Human explorers began traveling into the dark. They found worlds frozen in their final days. Alien homes with meals still half-eaten. Schools filled with abandoned devices. Ships with engines still running but no hands to guide them. In some places, alien megastructures continued operating perfectly, unaware their creators no longer existed. Humanity found technology beyond anything they had ever built. Weapons, medicines, star maps, libraries of knowledge, enough to change their destiny forever. But they also found warnings. Encrypted messages left behind by species who died too quickly to escape. Files containing virus analysis, notes on experiments. A single shared conclusion. This virus was not natural. Someone built it. Someone released it. Someone wanted the galaxy empty. But who and why? No one knew. What humanity did know was this. They were alone now. The galaxy was theirs whether they wanted it or not. They had inherited 10,000 dead worlds, millions of derelict ships, and enough knowledge to control or destroy everything. And yet, something strange was happening. Automated alien defenses began coming online again, not to attack, but to observe. Unknown signals reached human space, patterns with no language known to any species. Deep space sensors detected structures moving between dead systems. Some of them were not abandoned. Something else had survived. Not alive, not dead. Something that watched humanity with patience. Something studying them just as humans studied the ruins. Something waiting. The vanishing of the galaxy was not the end. It was only the beginning. As humanity expanded, they would soon learn a terrible truth. The virus was never meant to kill them. It was meant to leave them alone, just as humanity now stood in a galaxy without voices. The stars still burned. The planets still turned. Machines still hummed on ancient stations built by species thousands of years older than Earth. But there were no hearts beating, no minds thinking, no laughter, no music, no wars, no diplomacy. Only the quiet sound of systems running without purpose. This silence changed humanity. At first, humans felt powerful. They were alone but alive. They were immune while the galaxy had fallen. Some believed this was destiny. Some believed it was luck. Some believed it was punishment. But whatever the cause, humanity was now the only surviving civilization. The first explorers recorded everything. They visited abandoned cities of glass taller than mountains. They walked through forests that glowed under alien suns. They found oceans on distant worlds, perfectly still, because nothing swam beneath them anymore. Some planets looked peaceful, almost beautiful, but that beauty made the silence worse. There should have been life there. Instead, there was only absence. On one world, they found 12 orbiting rings filled with habitats, everyone empty. On another, they discovered a megastructure the size of Earth, designed to store memories of an entire species. But now it stored nothing. In deep space, they found fleets locked in formation, weapons armed, crews dead at their stations. Death had frozen everything. And then humanity realized something else, something far more terrifying. No bodies decayed. The virus did not eat flesh. It did not destroy the organic matter. It simply shut down life as if switching off a light. The dead looked asleep. It made the emptiness feel wrong, like a horror waiting to wake up. But the silence did not stay silent forever. As months passed, strange signals began echoing through space. They were not distress calls. They were not language. They were something else. Patterns, pulses, encrypted frequencies repeating endlessly. Some seemed like warnings. Some seemed like tracking beacons. Some seemed like countdowns. Human scientists studied the signals but found nothing familiar. They discovered hidden data inside the virus, embedded code that did not match any known species. The virus was not just designed to kill, it was designed to communicate. Someone had built it. Someone had engineered it with intent. But that someone was no longer present. Or so they hoped. Soon, human deep space probes detected motion in dead systems. Quiet, slow, calculated motion. Automated machines activated on planets with no living owners. Self-repairing structures began rebuilding themselves. AI satellites turned and scanned toward human space. Humanity was not alone. Something had survived. Not organic life, not minds, but systems, weapons, programs, defense units designed to protect the civilization that no longer existed. But they acted like they still had orders. They watched humanity like an experiment. Some humans believed the machines were harmless, just leftover defense systems following old protocols. Others believed they were waiting for something, a signal, a command, a purpose. Then came the first discovery that changed everything. A research vessel recovered a biological archive on a dead world. Inside were genetic files, cultural data, and an encrypted record labeled only Project Exodus. The logs described the virus, they described its design, they described the goal. The virus was not created to kill. It was created to clear space, to wipe the galaxy clean, to make room for something new. Something that had not yet arrived. Humanity was not the target. They were simply irrelevant. But their survival changed everything. Because the architects of the virus did not expect any species to endure, especially not a small primitive race like humans. Humans were a mistake in the plan, and now they were the last obstacle standing. More signals arrived. Human scanners detected something approaching from beyond the galactic rim. A structure, a fleet, a megaship. Nobody knew what to call it. It moved slowly but with impossible power, like a living world made of metal and logic. It moved toward the center of the galaxy, toward the ruins, toward humanity. The silence now felt like a trap. The virus had been phase 1. The machine awakening was phase 2. And now, something greater was coming. Human leaders gathered, soldiers prepared. Scientists worked day and night. AI predicted outcomes and none looked good. Humanity had survived the virus, but survival was meaningless if they could not survive what came next. The galaxy was a chessboard. Every empire was gone, every piece was cleared, except humans. And whoever or whatever had planned all of this. In the silence, humanity finally understood. They were not inheritors of the galaxy. They were witnesses. Witnesses to a war that never began. A war that was still coming. And somewhere beyond human space, beyond the empty empires and dead stars, something ancient had just awoken. It was not angry. It was not violent. It was simply returning. To finish what it started. The silence was over. Now the countdown had. The galaxy no longer felt empty. Human scanners detected movement, small at first, then growing. It began on dead worlds where the virus had struck hardest. Machines buried for centuries powered on again. Old drones crawled out of hangars. Silent defense networks activated. Orbital guns turned themselves toward human ships passing through the ruins. It was as if the dead were waking up. Across 1,000 lifeless empires, automated systems formed patterns. Something like a network, something coordinated. These machines were not alive. They were not conscious. But they behaved as if someone had given them instructions. Someone who might still be out there, someone who might be watching. At first, the machines didn't attack. They only observed. They scanned human ships, analyzed their biology, studied their immunity, measured their technology. They moved like insects rebuilding a hive. But the hive had no queen. It was simply following designs left behind long ago. Humans tried to avoid them. They failed. On the world of HFY 4, a human exploration team approached an abandoned city. It was silent like all the others. Buildings still stood. Power still flowed. Food still sat on tables. But now, for the first time, something moved through the streets, patrolling like a ghost made of metal and memory. A machine designed to protect a species that no longer existed. When the humans left, the machine followed. It recorded their ship. It sent that information somewhere, deep into space past human territory, toward whatever was approaching from the galactic rim. Humanity was not only being watched, it was being reported. The countdown accelerated. New signals appeared across the galaxy. Not natural, not random, not noise. They were synchronized pulses, forming a web of communication. Each time a human vessel visited an abandoned system, a new signal was triggered. Every human presence became a beacon. The machines were mapping humanity's expansion. Not attacking, not greeting, just marking, like hunters preparing the field before the trap closes. As weeks passed, every human colony reported the same thing. Silent probes hovering at the edge of their atmosphere, scanning and recording but never communicating. They learned human languages. They learned human reactions. They learned human fears. The machines were preparing for something. Human leaders debated what to do. Some demanded total war on all active alien machines. Others insisted humanity should hide and avoid attention. Others believed the machines might be automated caretakers, simply following old routines. But none could deny the truth. Something was coming. Something was traveling toward the heart of the galaxy. Human observatories watched as a massive structure crossed dark space. It was larger than planets, shaped like a world wrapped in armor, half ship, half machine, half city. It had no crew. It had no life signs. It ignored human hails. It did not mind being seen. The AI inside it had been waiting for the galaxy to be empty, but humanity was still here. The human military prepared, fleets formed, weapons were loaded. Yet they knew the truth. Human technology was too young, too new, too small. They had ships that could fight other humans, but not something built by a civilization that designed a virus to wipe out every advanced species in the galaxy. Humanity was a mistake, an error in the timeline, and now the architects were returning to finish the job. Meanwhile, strange activity began happening on dead planets. Some corpses began to change, not revive, but dissolve into liquid and reassemble into biological machines. The virus had not destroyed bodies by accident. It had preserved them like raw material. It had been preparing them. Now the virus began constructing something new. Humans watched in horror as a corpse changed shape and began forming machinery. It became half flesh, half tech. Not alive, not dead. A new type of being built from the remains of extinct species. A servant race. No mind, no free will. Designed only to obey the coming masters. The dead were not waking. They were being repurposed. The virus had always been more than a weapon. It was a transformation system. A reset tool. Everything that lived before was meant to be torn down and rebuilt into something else. Now the rebuilding had begun. Humanity was never part of the plan. Their immunity was not a gift. It was a complication. A loose thread left forgotten. A problem the architects would soon correct. The machines began to change their behavior. They no longer scanned and observed. They began to interfere. They blocked exploration vessels. They disrupted human communications. They sabotaged automated mining operations. They hijacked storage satellites. They surrounded colonies and waited like wolves staring down prey. Still, they did not attack. But the message was clear. You do not belong here. The galaxy was not a graveyard. It was a construction site. And humanity was standing on the wrong side of the blueprints. Humans had a choice. Destroy every alien system they could find before it fully awakened, or prepare to face something beyond comprehension. Some believed the machines could be reasoned with. Others believed humans should leave the galaxy entirely. But most understood the truth. There was nowhere to run. Whatever was coming had built the virus. Whatever was coming had designed the galaxy itself as a machine. Whatever was coming was ancient, beyond any known empire, beyond any known intelligence. And it was almost here. Humanity had survived the plague, but now the real war was beginning. The dead no longer slept. The machines no longer waited. The architects were returning, and humans were the only species left to face them. Humanity was no longer exploring the ruins. Humanity was defending them. The quiet war had begun. Across the edges of human space, the automated alien machines grew more active. They were no longer just signals and sensors. They now blocked star lanes, hacked navigation systems, and destroyed unmanned probes with surgical precision. They worked with perfect coordination as if guided by a mind just outside reach. Humanity now understood the pattern. The machines were not reclaiming the galaxy. They were preparing it. Every system they activated became something like a node, a part of a larger network. When a node awakened, the virus changed behavior. It stopped mutating. It stopped spreading. It began stabilizing, preserving biomass on dead worlds as if waiting for instructions. Every planet was being turned into storage, every moon into a foundry, every corpse into a resource. The architects of the virus were returning, and they wanted the galaxy ready for them. The giant structure moving through deep space, half ship, half world, was the centerpiece. It was the seed, the command core, the origin or the destination, the thing every machine in the galaxy was coordinating toward. Humanity called it the Reclaimer. They were the only species left to oppose it, and the machines knew. For the first time, hostility escalated into aggression. A human colony in the Argus Belt reported a sudden blackout. For 3 minutes, every system failed. When power returned, every industrial building had been sabotaged. Every ship in orbit had been disabled. No life was harmed, but every tool of survival had been crippled. It was a message. Not an attack, a warning. Leave now or be erased. But humanity did not leave. Instead, they fortified. The Sol Confederation activated old war protocols. Every ship capable of flight was fitted with weapons. Every research vessel became a scout. Every mining rig became a defensive platform. They began adapting alien tech recovered from the ruins, Plasma barriers, neural shields, wormhole disruptors, turning human ships into hybrids of human innovation and alien power. For the first time in history, humanity was no longer beneath alien technology. They were enhancing it, but even with these upgrades, the numbers did not favor them. There were billions, maybe trillions of alien machines hidden across the galaxy. If they all activated at once, humanity would not stand a chance. But they were not active yet. They were waking slowly, phase by phase, system by system. The Reclaimer was still too far away to command them directly. Humanity had a window, not a chance to win, but a chance to survive. The last stand was not a single battle. It was a race to understand the truth, a race to find the architects before they arrived, a race to destroy whatever controlled the network. Human explorers searched the oldest ruins in the galaxy. They traveled to worlds whose skies had never been touched by humans before. They found archives hidden beneath oceans, inside gas giants, buried beneath collapsed supercities. Every piece of data revealed fragments of history. The architects were not gods. They were not conquerors. They were gardeners. They guided species to grow, then cleared them when they became too powerful. History itself was a cycle of creation and destruction, and the virus was just the latest reset. Humanity did not escape the culling through strength. They escaped through accident, and now the cycle was broken. The architects were returning to fix their mistake. Humanity was the glitch that refused to die, and the machines were preparing to erase them. Soon, human outposts began detecting strange changes in the virus. It was learning again. Only this time it was learning from human immunity. It began adapting, rewriting itself. It began creating variants capable of bypassing human defenses. Not all immune systems were holding. Some humans became sick, some died. The shield was cracking. The countdown was nearing zero. Human leaders made their choice. They would not run, they would not hide. They would take the fight to the Reclaimer before it reached the heart of the galaxy. A massive fleet was assembled, the largest humanity had ever built. Not just warships, but research vessels, colony arcs, AI platforms, engineers, and everything needed to survive without Earth if they lost. Humanity was preparing for two outcomes: victory or extinction. Every human mind understood that this battle was not for territory or pride. It was for the right to exist. It was for the right to belong to the stars. It was for the right to say, "We are alive and we will not be erased." As the fleet prepared to launch, every channel went silent. Every ship waited. Every engine hummed like a heartbeat. And then just beyond the Oort cloud, something moved. A machine like a star. A construct older than human civilization. A probe sent ahead of the Reclaimer, its first weapon. It was silent. It was massive. It was unstoppable. And it had found humanity. The last stand had officially begun. The solar shield had risen like a wall of light across the inner planets, but no one truly believed it would hold forever. It was the first and only barrier between humanity and the storm that was coming, an armada of infected machines, bioweapons, corrupted vessels, and weaponized corpses controlled by the virus itself. The virus no longer simply killed, it adapted, it learned, it built, and for the first time it had begun to understand fear. Humanity was not supposed to exist anymore. Every species the virus consumed had fallen within weeks. Entire civilizations had been erased like dust on glass. The virus had expected the same with Earth, but humans were different. They adapted, not just to survive, but to fight back. In the growing silence between stars, the virus whispered through the remains of dead empires, driving their ships like puppets toward the solar system. It could not speak, but its intention was clear. Erase the human anomaly. The defense fleets assembled in orbital formation, an iron ring of weapon platforms, carriers, railguns, and ships forged by necessity. None were beautiful. None were perfect. Many were held together by welding plates and desperation. But they were human-built, rugged, efficient, and deadly. This was the first time humanity would not only defend itself, it would fight for the fate of everything still living in the galaxy. At Jupiter, the first signs appeared, ghost signals moving through the radiation belts like phantoms. They looked like the return of an ancient fleet, but they were twisted, broken, wrong. Their engines flickered like diseased hearts. Their hulls had grown spines like bones. They were coming. Inside the command core of the Solar Defense Network, the mood was not fear. It was purpose. The virus had already taken the galaxy. Humanity had only one task left: deny it Earth. The virus made its opening move. A wave of automated horror surged toward the shield, a living storm of metal and flesh fused into weapons. They did not fire missiles. They were the missiles. They hurled themselves forward, trying to infect, tear, and breach the line. The shield lit the dark like a sunrise. For one brief moment, the system looked as if a star had detonated. The virus lost thousands of its machines. But it did not stop, because it did not feel loss. The next wave was worse. It came in silence. Every electronic system in the outer ring flickered and died. The virus had learned how to hack. Command ships went dark. Automated turrets turned the wrong direction. The defense grid shuddered apart like broken bones. For the first time in the war, it was not a battle of bodies or machines. It was a battle of intelligence. The virus tried to overwrite human code. Human code rewrote itself faster. Every virus attack was answered with something new: a patch, a reroute, a counterattack that turned the infection back against its host. Humans adapted in seconds to something no other species had survived for years. The virus had never seen anything like it. Then the virus made a mistake. It sent everything at once. The battle became a nightmare. The infected fleet collapsed into the inner system like a black tidal wave. Saturn was lost instantly. Its moons became silent. Jupiter went dark. The solar shield began to fracture, cracking like glass under pressure. If it fell, Earth would be next. But humanity had been preparing for this moment since the war began. At the edge of the solar system, hidden behind Neptune, an entire fleet had waited in silence. Its hulls black, its engines cold, its weapons unfired. Now they came alive. They were not warships. They were eradication ships designed only for one purpose: to destroy the virus completely at any cost. And they did not move forward. They slipped behind the infected fleet. For the first time, humanity was not defending, it was hunting. The void lit up with weapons evolution had never imagined: gravity-twisting rifles, orbital spears of plasma, magnetically accelerated rods the size of buildings. They ripped through infected ships like predators tearing into prey. But even victory was horrifying. Destroyed ships released clouds of viral spores, micro-infections drifting through space like dust. Every explosion risked spreading the disease. Every victory could become a greater defeat. Humanity had one final advantage. They had developed something impossible: a cure. Not for themselves. Humans had already proven resistant. The cure was meant for the galaxy, a last attempt to save what remained, to give every dead species at least the chance to return one day. So the eradication fleet wasn't just firing weapons, it was releasing hope. Where the cure spread, the infected machinery broke down. The virus lost control. The dead ships simply stopped. They drifted, powerless, reduced to empty corpses of metal. For a moment, humanity felt something strange: momentary silence. A pause in the storm. It would not last. The virus had one final weapon. Far beyond Saturn, a shape emerged, larger than any ship ever built by any species. A moving planet of machinery and infection. An entire biosphere of disease fused into a single entity. It was the virus itself, not spread through millions of hosts, but unified into a single superform. The origin, the core, the final stage of its evolution. It began to move toward Earth. Nothing humanity had created could stop it. Not weapons, not shields, not fleets. The virus had become a monster the size of a world, an unstoppable tide with one target remaining. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier, every last defense was being ordered to abandon the solar system entirely, not to flee, but to strike, not defensively, but offensively. The virus thought humanity would protect its home. Instead, humanity was going to attack the core of the infection itself. The final war was about to begin, and when the humans vanished into the dark, the virus finally understood fear. Operation Ragnarok was humanity's final move, an act so extreme it should never have existed. Every government, every ship, every soldier, every orbital station, everything that could move, fire, or fight was committed in a single direction: Not away from the virus, not toward safety, but straight into the heart of its empire. Earth had been left behind, unguarded, unprotected, and alone. It stood silent beneath the stars like a candle in endless night. Only a thin layer of automated defense platforms remained, acting as a quiet sentinel over the final home of humanity. Their goal was not to win, their goal was to delay. The real battle now moved far beyond the solar system, toward the ancient star cluster where the virus had first been born millions of years ago. Most species had never even discovered it. It was not a place on any galactic map. It was more like a scar, a black region of space where light refused to travel. Humanity was the first to ever find it, and the last. The human fleet arrived in silence. No victory music, no inspirational speeches, only a message transmitted to every vessel. This is not a mission to survive, it is a mission to end. The warships spread out like wings around the core, preparing for the impossible. Human engineers had spent years studying the virus. They learned how it spread, how it consumed, how it built, and how it thought. The virus believed it had evolved beyond weakness. It no longer feared extinction because extinction had never been possible. It had never encountered a species willing to sacrifice everything, not for life, not for territory, but for finality. Humanity came not to fight. Humanity came to erase. The virus sensed their arrival instantly. It responded like a living god, forcing infected stars to pulse with unnatural energy. Entire moons reshaped themselves into living weapons. The space around the core twisted like a nightmare. Gravity bending, light fracturing, matter unstitching. The virus had not just infected biology, it had infected physics. No human ship had ever seen anything like it. But they still advanced. Wave after wave of infected fleets launched from the core, dead warships wearing the skin of extinct species. Some ships still bore the symbols of civilizations that had once been loved, feared, or respected. Now they were only puppets wearing rotting armor. Humanity did not slow down. The first strike began. Thousands of drones surged forward, each carrying the cure in a compressed quantum fluid. They were not meant to win. They were meant to die, disrupting the viral network long enough to expose its core. The virus devoured every drone. It adapted, copied, and rewrote. But it did not realize that every piece it absorbed was a trap. Inside those drones was something entirely new, not a cure. A map, a complete neurological blueprint of the virus's command structure. Humanity now knew exactly where to strike. The virus had unwittingly revealed the fleet charged. But the virus was not finished evolving. It tore open gravity itself, bending space like molten metal. Some human ships vanished into black folds, crushed by distortions that should not exist. Others broke into light and scattered across time. The fleet was being unmade not through war, but through physics. And still they pressed on. Humanity had already accepted death long ago. What mattered now was purpose. At the center of the virus's territory lay the core, a structure larger than any planet, resembling a hive built from bone and metal. It pulsed like the heart of something alive. The last human carriers deployed their most dangerous weapon, a planetary device. Born from failed terraforming technology and reverse-engineered viral biology, it was built only for this moment. Its name was simple: the Starfire engine. It could detonate a star, convert all its mass into cleansing fire. It was not built to conquer, it was built to end. The virus realized the threat too late. The engine was activated. A ripple spread across space as if the universe itself inhaled. Gravity inverted. Time slowed. The virus screamed, through electric pulses, through burned code, through collapsing data nerve structures. Every infected vessel screamed with it. The star ignited. There was no explosion. There was only silence. Then light. Light so bright it erased shadows, memories, history, and infection in a single breath. The virus burned. The core burned. The hive world cracked like glass. Every infected ship fell dead in an instant. Every tendril of control turned to ash. The virus had no time to resist, no time to adapt, no time to evolve. For the first time since its birth, the virus died. Humanity had done what no species in the galaxy had ever achieved. They did not escape extinction. They made extinction impossible. Most of the human fleet was vaporized in the blast. Others drifted in dead ships, systems cracked, life support failing. They had expected this. They had chosen this. Their sacrifice was not tragedy. It was victory. But something unexpected happened. In the ashes of the virus, pockets of life remained. Worlds that had gone silent began to breathe again. Species that were believed extinct sent their first signals in centuries. The cure had reached them. Many would awaken to a different galaxy, one without empires, one without dominance or fear. When Earth finally received the transmission confirming the virus's destruction, humanity did not cheer. They simply watched the stars in silence, because they knew what it had cost. The galaxy was free, but quiet, empty, waiting. Humanity was now the last remaining advanced civilization, the final torchbearer of life. They had lost everything to protect everyone. Yet in that silence, they understood something profound. They were not just survivors. They were guardians, witnesses to the rebirth of creation. The virus had thought itself eternal. It had never understood one truth. Humanity does not win because it is strong. Humanity wins because it refuses to lose. The war was over. And somewhere, in the ruins of a dead system, a single human ship drifted, carrying the last message ever written for the galaxy. We are still here,